This is Kona on the big island of Hawaii. It's the home of the Ironman World Triathlon Championships held each October. It's truly a special and powerful place, which must be experienced to be understood. It can also be a cruel place, and no amount of space-age bikes or designer sports drinks will hide the unprepared. Over time, the Hawaii Ironman became a global phenomenon, fully in the mainstream of the triathlon world. Those seeking to visit their ultimate limits in these harsh conditions would be soon looking to the Ultraman Triathlon World Championships.
Rarely have I met an athlete who's gone over to Kona and fell into luck. From my perspective, when I talk to athletes, I tell them in advance that this is coming. Don't be afraid of it, accept it, and participate in it.
Yeah, I'm fit. I'm positive about the whole thing. It's really warm right now, and I'm looking forward to survive in this environment. You can't fight it. You got to really adapt and be one with the environment here, one with the island. It sounds like a cliche, but it's not. It's truly this. If it's 110 degrees outside, no matter how much you want to hit yourself against the wall, it's still going to be 110 degrees. So you got to live with that and adapt.
A key difference in the Ultraman is the theme of cooperation, encouragement, and ohana. Overly negative and competitive attitudes are left at home. The pre-race breakfast offers a chance for everyone to shake hands and renew old acquaintances. Entered this year is Brazilian pro triathlete Alexandra Ribeiro, as well as Gordo Byrne, returning to defend his Ultraman victory from last year.
Getting ready for races, particularly endurance races, lots of athletes tend to hide in their hotel rooms with the mindset that they're waiting for an executioner. Myself, I choose to go out and make friends with the course in little bits and pieces, and I don't mean in a car either. I'll go and I'll run and I'll bike different segments of the course in an effort to make friends with the course, so to speak, and to get me through the tough parts. I don't want any surprises out there. For Ultraman Hawaii, training in Canada can't possibly prepare the athlete for the climate. Obviously, the weather, the heat, temperature, and rain can't be duplicated anywhere other than the island. Because of that, I think the only option is to get out beforehand and acclimatize and get yourself ready for what's coming on the day. Mental preparation for a race such as the Ultraman or any long course race starts well in advance of the event. From that perspective, in training myself, I go over certain mental options that I will exercise on race day depending on what happens. And that's a way to prepare myself. By the time that I get to the race venue, in my mind I've gone over pretty well every variable and how I'm going to handle it. I've made my mind up well before I arrive. So in the days leading up to the race, this helps me to avoid race day jitters, nervousness, and doubt. On day one, of course, it's a daunting task to step into the ocean knowing what's coming ahead, but I've already decided how I'm going to handle that. Day one is basically a prelude to better things to come. Months in advance of arriving in Hawaii, I've already decided how the race is going to go in my head, regardless of the outcome. Day one starts with a swim, a 10K swim, open ocean. Once out of the water, the athlete transitions onto the bike, and once on top of the highway, you start to head south towards the town of Volcano. The total climbing that happens in day one includes 6,000 feet of vertical climb. For the triathlete who's used to being King Kong in his neighborhood and hammering on just about anyone who wants to train with him, it's a large wake-up call.
The gun sounds and everyone's on their way. Each swimmer has a kayaker to keep them on course and well-nourished. In this open ocean swim, competitors can easily lose their way. Even the fastest swimmers will take over 2 hours to complete the swim, so food and fluids are essential. It's interesting to note that each athlete is wearing a wetsuit, not for thermal protection, but from the inevitable jellyfish stings. At the 1 hour mark, the island claims its first victim. Defending champion Gordo Byrne has been stung in the face and shoulders by a large jellyfish. In shock, Gordo is pulled from the water and taken to hospital. Things have just become less predictable. Events were also unfolding with Tony O'Keefe's swim. His accompanying kayak had been slowly taking on water through a small hole in the hull. By the 6K mark, the kayak had sunk, and Tony is left with 4K to swim with no guide or nourishment. Jamie Patrick is the first out of the water in a time of 2 hours and 25 minutes. Next is Marty Raymond at 2 hours and 30 minutes. Marty changes and is quickly out onto the bike in second place. Alex Ribeiro follows with a time of 2 hours and 40 minutes. 5 minutes later, Tony O'Keefe exits the water. His swim wasn't a disaster after all.
Once the athlete transitions from the swim, immediately he or she will find himself facing a vertical climb. And that will last for almost a mile. My memory fades from time. All I know is that it's the lightest gear that I can handle until I hit the highway. The entire path is a vertical climb. The island is extreme in its geography, and basically we're climbing the side of a volcano. In all respects, a nasty way to start a 271-mile bike ride.
With the swim and the first nasty climb behind him, Tony settles in for the day on his bike.
What I'm doing here is I'm repeating what I consider to be excellent technique over and over and over again. And in my mind, I'm telling myself, I'm just getting stronger. I'm just getting stronger. I'm just getting stronger. And I knew that as long as I kept clicking off the miles and sticking with my rhythm, that I would start reeling them in. I knew then that while I might be hurting, other folks are hurting worse. So from my perspective, it was time to pick up the pace.
The heat of the day takes its toll on the riders. At 120K, Tony passes swim leader Jamie Patrick and sets his sight on Marty. At the 130K mark, Tony makes his move. Marty elects not to go with him.
You have to be patient in this race. With 22 miles remaining, the climb starts, the long, torturous, windy climb into the town of Volcano. The athlete has to remember that there are still 2 days of racing remaining. In my strategy, I wanted to make as much time as I could off those who were stronger in the swim because I knew that I was strong on land. So to that end, I saw the climb as my chance to make up some ground.
With a time of 8 hours and 21 minutes, Tony arrives at the finish line in Volcano. He is in second place, 37 minutes behind the race leader, Alex Ribeiro, who has made a statement with a time of 7 hours and 44 minutes. Riding strongly and after a great swim, Marty Raymond is in third place with a time of 8 hours and 27 minutes.
We had a good preparation before we got here. So.
Tomorrow's going to be moving day. You see a lot of things change.
Well, I ain't flipping my boat tomorrow. I got freaking
Out there. This is the longest day It can be dangerous. So it's raining from the park all the way down, so be ready. Put your rain gear on or have it ready to put on.
Day 2 starts with a 20-mile descent from Volcano into the town of Kia, before turning right towards the ocean for a 40-kilometer loop along the ocean side. From there, the riders head north along the coast and through the town of Hilo. From Hilo, the course runs over the rolling hills of the Hamakua coast to Waimea. From Waimea, the riders climb over 4,000 feet in 10 kilometers before a short, steep descent to the end of the stage in Hawi.
When I looked around to my other competitors, I saw a whole lot of long johns and fleece jackets and ear warmers and gloves. And here I was standing in cycling shorts and a cut-off shirt, and I guess it pays to be Canadian. Day 2, I think, is the key to the race. Day 2 is muscular endurance on a bike. And from my perspective, who wants it badly?
A light drizzle greeted the riders as they descended into Keio. Early in the stage, Tom Roberts of Texas makes a break from the pack, with Ribeiro and O'Keefe staying within contact.
Day 2, well, we took off like bandits. Unbelievably, the pace was absurd. There was myself and 2 other competitors were jockeying for position. My objective was to stay with Alex Ribeiro. The other guy in the mix, from my perspective, again, I didn't think he'd be there too long. He just took off like there was no tomorrow. He was out of sight within the 10 minutes, and I thought, oh, this is going to be good. The objective there on day 2 was, from my perspective, I knew what I was going to do. I knew that I was going to race strong, but I also knew that things were going to happen today. And the measure of the competitive athlete is what he or she does once things that you can't control happen. The loop, some of the most beautiful scenery that I've ever seen. Unbelievably rolling hills along the ocean. It was just unbelievable.
Following 10 minutes behind was Marty, who was feeling strong and pacing smartly after suffering badly on the long climb the previous day.
The day, as it proves, turns out to be hot anyway, and I've always been of the mind that if I ever find myself cold in a race, I would just turn up the effort a little bit, and that normally takes care of it.
Outside of Hilo, and after 5 hours of racing, Tony catches up with Tom Rogers and passes him, with Alex still ahead. At the 250-kilometer mark of the stage, Tony begins his climb through the koalas. Like a stage in the Tour de France, the surroundings are bleak and the grade is cruel. This is where character is not merely built, this is where it is revealed.
The climb is a barren, steep incline, 3,500 feet, in a linear distance of perhaps 4 miles. Dramatic, to say the least. And basically, day 2 in memory was a series of long climbs and character-revealing, energy-depleting efforts. The idea is to string them together and look at them as one.
After the short descent in the rain, Tony finishes the stage in 8 hours and 8 minutes. Alex has ridden strongly again today, adding a further 13 minutes to his lead. But Tony has kept it close, being down 50 minutes from the overall lead. Marty Raymond crosses the line in 5th place in a time of 9 hours and 28 minutes on a flat tire. It's still very much a race, and everyone knows it.
The third stage of the Ultraman is an 84-kilometer double marathon from the town of Hawi. It traverses a large volcanic field with basically no shade. I have one strategy for running, and I have one strategy for running the Ultraman, and that is to go out as hard as I can and hold it.
Before the run begins, the athletes form a circle and take a few moments to reflect while the conch shell is blown. The athletes and support crews share a moment of calm and well wishes in the morning darkness before the long day ahead. Soon after, at 6 a.m. sharp, the gun sounds. They have already swam 10 kilometers in an open ocean, ridden 415 kilometers on roads around the Big Island, and now an 84-kilometer double marathon separate the athletes from the finish.
Marty had confided in me that his strategy, and it was sound, was to get as much ground covered in the double marathon as early as possible. We started in darkness as the sun hadn't crested yet.
Alex and Tony set a torrid early pace and quickly break away from the group. They cover the first 5 kilometers in under 19 minutes.
At the start of the run, the pace that we set was pretty fast. I took off with Alex Rubiero. We got through the 5K mark in an obscenely fast time, considering there were still close to 80K left to go. And I thought, geez, this is ridiculous. But hey, I'm liking it. It's good. By the time we got to the 15K mark, I was struggling, and I knew it. I can hold the pace, but not forever. I started to ease off, and 10 feet turned into 20 feet as I watched him run away. And I thought to myself, this is an excellent education. I was watching a world champion execute a perfect race plan. I thought, this is great.
As the morning sun rose, so did the temperature.
Everyone pays at this race. Everyone. The leader and the last place finisher. Even the smallest hills presented a significant problem. The pavement of the Queen K is black. The lava field is black, and there's nowhere to hide. And you can feel the heat through your running shoes. You can feel it.
One by one, the miles count down. Tony passes the half marathon at 1 hour and 40 minutes. Then the full marathon mark with a time of 3 hours and 30 minutes.
42 kilometers down, 42 to go. This is what I was ready for. This is what I'd been training for. I'd been training for the last marathon. As the miles rolled on, I couldn't see Alex in front of me, but I knew he was there. And I knew that if he got into any trouble at all, it's not like swimming or biking, where swimming you can float for a bit, or biking you can just coast. Running, you stop. And it's very difficult to get going again. And I knew that I wasn't going to stop.
He is now paying for the pace set earlier in the day. His support crew now pays particular attention to Tony and his needs. Occasionally a joke or a word of encouragement is offered, but mostly things are just quiet.
We had a good plan, we have good people, and we all get along and we respect each other. No matter what happened out there, we had all decided that it was going to be a funny story. Maybe not in the present, but it was going to be a funny story.
At first, the signs are subtle. A sign here, a lamppost there. Next, the airport.
As you climb out from the depths of the lava field, you crest a hill, and lo and behold is the airport. Welcome to Kailua, Kona. Once I passed the airport, I knew, as painful as it was going to be, I knew I was going to finish, and I was going to finish strong. I had decided that. 10 miles is, from my perspective, a mental number that is doable. I can crawl it, I can walk it, I can handstand in if I have to.
Finally, after 7 hours, Tony makes a right off the Queen K Highway onto Makala Boulevard. He can smell the finish line. And for the first time today, a smile is painted across his face. He also knows that Alex is already finished and has won the race. Second place again this year will have to suffice. At this moment, that's just fine. With a time of 7 hours and 11 minutes and an overall time of 23 hours and 41 minutes, Tony is greeted by family, support crew, and Alex. Hugs and high fives all around. Tony has bettered last year's time by more than an hour. One by one, the others file in. Marty solidifies 5th place with a run time of 9 hours and 7 minutes and an overall time of 27 hours and 2 minutes.
To the champion this year, Alex Ribeiro, my hat was off. He a gracious man in every regard, flawless athlete, dedicated to the task, and from my perspective, it was an honor to race against the best in the world.